Here we are live, Playboy, playing with the house money, on front row, in your face, big bag bets. Yeah, shit, it's going motherfucking down over here. If you want to cash a ticket, this where you need to be, live and in living color. Dixie Parlay Fair, live from Playing with the House Money, where we have done so much with so little for so long that it seems we can do anything with nothing at all in no time flat. Now let's get to the money. Welcome to another Saturday edition of Playing with the House Money, Week 2 College Football Predictions 2025. We'll be giving you an analysis on the side, the total, and the prediction on all games available. We'll be starting out with the Friday slate. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment whether you agree or disagree. We want to hear from you, your likes and dislikes. Let's get right to this shit, man.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Isn't that why you're here?
Oh yeah, Playboy, we're back, live and in living color with the college football slate, Saturday edition, Week 2, 2025. We stay lit over here, homie. Come get your weight up. Now let's go dumpster diving. Digging right into it, first off would be two Big 12 teams who had different outcomes in Week 1, but expected to get off on the right foot. That would be Baylor and SMU. In this matchup, we have SMU 2 and a 1-2 with a total of 64. Not an unusual total for Big 12 teams, who usually are all offense and no defense. SMU was the 11-win team last year with 3 losses. Those 3 losses, well, at least 2 of them came against some pretty good teams. I won't say BYU wasn't a good team, but 1 loss was to Clemson and 1 loss was to Penn State in the first round of the college football playoffs. Yeah, you heard me right. SMU was a college football playoff team last year. This year they returned 12 starters, 7 on offense, 5 on defense, with a really good returning quarterback in Kevin Jennings, who last year passed for 3,200 yards. He was somewhat efficient in his first game, going 22 for 30 for 260 yards and 1 interception against very low-level competition in Texas A&M Commerce. 8 receivers caught passes from Jennings, and 6 running backs carried the ball for 140 yards. They were doing their best to get everybody some burn. Also, they had 2 pick sixes for touchdowns. The defense basically kept the opposition scoreless until the fourth quarter in garbage time, resulting in a 42-13 win. Baylor coach Dave Aranda is 5-15 against top 25 teams. Although the first opponent last week was Auburn, which was not ranked nowhere near the top 25. This week, SMU is ranked 17th. Baylor returned most 18 starters from last year and most of his offensive production. They are one of the most experienced teams in the NFBS, which I guess doesn't count for much after having an 8-5 record last year. This year they start off and one could be headed for much of the same. Last year they really didn't win any games against teams with legs. All these teams were basically cripples who they pushed around. Last year, the defense gave up an average of 152 rush yards a game, but against Auburn, they gave up 307 with only 108 coming in the passing department. Baylor returning quarterback Sawyer Robinson did pass for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Baylor only rushed for an abysmal 64 yards, and that, my friend, is a problem. Baylor has won the last 4 meetings against SMU, but they were so long ago. They have no bearing or effect on this game overall. I think SMU is the better team. They have the better coach. And I'm going to say they have the better quarterback. Maybe not by much, but the better quarterback in this game. I see SMU winning. SMU 34, Baylor 27. We have one of the oldest rivalries in college football. This will be the 72nd time that these teams have played for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Coach Kirk Ferentz has been coaching here since Methuselah was making history in the Bible. That's right, forever. Iowa State 3 against Iowa with a total of 41. Big 10 might against Big 12 finesse. After winning 11 games last year against 3 losses, Iowa State has came out of the gate smoking. They returned 13 starters from last year's team, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. But what they do have is a really formidable quarterback in junior Rocco Beck. Last week, both teams crushed their opponents. In Iowa State's second game of the season, they were a 16.5-point favorite against South Dakota. Beck was very efficient, going 19 for 20 with 278 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. They came away with an impressive win, 55-7. They dominated from start to finish and scored an average of 2 touchdowns every quarter. Iowa State exhibited a well-rounded offense with 306 yards passing, 223 yards rushing. At this point, the defense is only surrendering an average 15 points a game and right at 100 yards rushing. The Iowa Hawkeyes returned 12 starters, 7 on offense, 5 on defense. Their defense was lights out last year, only allowing 17.8 points a game. The offense held its own, averaging right at 28 points a game. This year, they bring in veteran quarterback Mark Gronowski, a senior who won back-to-back national titles at South Dakota State. They have a stronger offensive line and an improved wide receiver core. Iowa has won 17 of the last 20 meetings in this rivalry. Who will get the Cy-Hawk Trophy? I really don't know that, but give me the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa 24, Iowa State 21. We all know the outcome of this next game. Of course, we're going to have to play it to officially get the outcome. Texas Tech 48 against Kent State with a total of 58. The way they are going to beat these people should be a crime. Texas Tech is one of the most experienced teams in the FBS, returning a total of 21 starters, one shy of returning a complete offense and defense. 10 starters of offense will be following the lead of quarterback Baron Morton, who last year passed for 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. It was considered a fairly good season, but this year they're expecting great things out of this offense, like the 67 points they scored in week 1. Of course, as usual, the defense was horrible, 8 giving up right at 35 points a game. Coach McGuire did his best to fill these holes through the portal by bringing in some first-class transfers like DN David Bailey, DN Romello Height, cornerback Bryce Pollock, along with free safety Cole Wisniewski. This defense should make considerable improvements this year. Not a real college football team. Kent State will be their opponent. Kent State is coming off of season of being its usually horrible selves, where they posted an 0-12 mark last year. They did win their first game of the season and should be proud of that because looking at their schedule, they only have a possibility of 3 more wins. If that, last week, Kent State not only won, but they covered the spread. First-year coach Matt Carney should be proud of them, but this is where the dream turns into a nightmare. Last week, Kent State needed a 100-yard kickoff return with 5 minutes and 52 seconds remaining in order to beat Merrimack. One thing that I'm sure of is the total will go over 58 with no further ado. Texas Tech 69, Kent State 10. Next up, it will be the Big Ten versus the ACC with Illinois 2-1-1-2 against Duke with a total of 49 and a 1-2. Illinois is headed up by Coach Brett Bielms. Last year, Illinois was 10-3 overall. This year, they returned 19 starters, 10 on offense, 10 on defense. This is the first meeting between these two schools. QB Luke Altmaier will be the signal caller. Last year, he was responsible for 2,700 yards passing, 22 touchdowns against 6 interceptions, with Illinois averaging 28 points a game. This year, behind one of the better offensive O-lines in the country, the offense is suited for a considerable jump in points scored. The defense should be able to hold his own. Last year, giving up only 21 points a game, and with 9 starters back, they should be in line to average numbers like what they did in 2022. In 2022, they only gave up 12 points a game. Right now, they shape up as a legitimate Big Ten contender, but that remains to be seen. Last week was a cakewalk against Western Illinois, where they won 52-3, but this one will be a little tighter. On the other side of the field, Duke is a home dog, and Coach Manny Diaz will surely have them ready. Diaz, former DC at Texas, Penn State, Mississippi. State of Miami is coming off at 9-4 record with his squad. He's returning 13 starters, 6 on offense, 7 on defense. Through the magic of the portal, he brought in former Tulane mobile quarterback Darien Mesa. Last man passed for 2,700 yards, 22. Touchdown is 6 interceptions, leading to Lane 9 wins last week against Elon. He passed with 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hebrews a run threat that has been missing from this Duke team last week. They started out slow. It was only 10-10 at the half. Not a good look against a small school like Elon. They didn't wind up pulling away in the second half, outscoring Elon 35-7, but has a different monster, and we go side with the big bad wolf. Illinois 28, Duke 24. Okay, let's keep this rubber burning. Next up is Indiana minus 35.5 against Kennesaw State with a total of 52.5. Indiana was a really good team last year. They actually ended the season with one loss. They wound up with an overall 11-2 record, and they made it to the college football playoffs where they lost is Notre Dame 27-17. This year they have 16 starters back, 9 on offense, 7 on defense. Last year, they were very formidable offense, averaging 41 points a game, and the defense wasn't a slouch either, only giving up 15.6 points a game. Last year, Curtis Rourke was a magician. This year, they bring in former Cal transfer Fernando Mendoza, who threw for 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Last week against Old Dominion, Mendoza only threw for 193 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and they only put up 27 points against Old Dominion. They definitely didn't cover the spread, which was 23, and it actually didn't go over the total of 53. The final score, Indiana 27, Old Dominion 14. On the defensive side of the ball, where they start defensive end, Mikael Kamara, linebacker Aiden Fisher, and cornerback D'Angelo Pons. So they have stars at every level. Last week, the run defense was absolutely porous. They gave up 218 yards rushing to Old Dominion, but only 98 yards passing. Kennesaw State would be suiting up on the other side of the ball, as they are once again considered bottom feeders. Last year, Kennesaw State had a record of 2-10. To bring a new coach in Jerry Mack, he will inherit a team with only 12 starters back, 4 on offense, 8 on defense. Under center will be Dexter Williams, who has played for Indiana and last year was at Georgia Southern. He's had 2 ACL tears but should be close to 100%. The defense should fare a little better this year. They're big up front and have experience at linebacker, and they return the entire secondary. They should be better than the 31 points they gave up a game last year. Indiana should tighten things up in the second game, but 35 points is a lot to give up until your team has time to gel. Indiana 28, Kennesaw State 10. Here we have Syracuse -7 against UConn with a total of 57. Last year was Fran Brown's first year, and he did a remarkable job with Syracuse. He coached them to 10-3 record behind the signal calling of Kyle McCord, who passed for an astonishing 4,700 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. This year, his team only brings back 8 starters, 2 on offense, 6 on defense. Looks like the quarterback will be Steve Angeli, who looked good in the playoffs last year for Notre Dame, but the offense will have much less experience this year. They lose their 1,000-yard running back, the top 3 wide receivers, and 4 starting offensive line. The defense wasn't hit as hard, although they do lose 7 of their top 10 tackles. UConn and Jim Mora were no slouches last year. They finished with a 9-4 record and defeated Carolina in the Fenway Bowl. UConn returns 11 starters, 7 on offense, 4 on defense. This year, UConn came out the gate smoking just like they should. They get back quarterback Joe Fagnano had 6 starts last year and was really top-notch with 18 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. UConn came out the gate smoking as they should and put it on Central Connecticut State 59-13, covering the spread of 28 and going over the total of 51. Last year, these two teams played and Syracuse won by 7. This year, I don't think that's going to happen. I think UConn will cover comfortably. UConn 31, Syracuse 21. Now we'll take a look at Pittsburgh -21.5 against Central Michigan with a total of 49. Pittsburgh was 76 last year. They returned 16 starters, 8 on offense, 8 on defense, lead by quarterback Eli Holstein. Holstein was pretty decent last year, throwing for 2,700 yards, 17 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, but he was hurt after 7 games. Pittsburgh was a BL down the stretch. They lost their last 5 games, make that 6, counting the ball game against Toledo. If Holstein can stay healthy and the offensive line can also stay healthy, Pittsburgh should have a pretty good offense. Now on the defensive side of the ball, with the starters back, they should really be strong, definitely stronger than last year, but they gave up an average of 28 points a game. Central Michigan, on the other hand, also started out on the right foot this year. Last week, they went to San Jose State, where they were 14-point underdogs, winning outright 16-14. Joey Liebes will be returning and starting quarterback last year. He was pedestrian last year with only 1,100 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. This year, the offense loses their 4 top rushers, the top 7 receivers, and their top 4 offensive linemen, but are expected to top last year's poor numbers. Last week, Pittsburgh had a well-rounded attack with 173 rushing yards and 287 passing yards. I know it may sound strange, but I'm going to put my trust in Central Michigan. Pitt 34, Central Michigan 21. Here we have 2 teams from the South. North Carolina State -3 against Virginia with the total of 54. North Carolina State was a 6-7 last year. This year, the first game this year was against their rival East Carolina, who actually defeated them in the Military Bowl last year, 26-21. North Carolina State was the 13.5-point favorites in that game, but only won by 7, with East Carolina inside the 10-yard line with time running out. They could not score and turn the ball over in downs. Where Can I State brings back 15 starters, 8 on offense, 7 on defense. They bring back a pretty good sophomore quarterback in C.J. Bailey. Last year, he threw for 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. This year, he should bigger, stronger, more experienced. All 4 units on the offense could be improved. The defense last week started out strong. They lose the deep physical coordinator to her head coaching job, but do retain a solid defensive line. They have some good transfers that they brought over in the portal, and it might just take a little time for them to gel. Last week, they did a pretty good in the first half, but the second half was where East Carolina got back in the game and should have won. They haven't played since 2023, but North Carolina State has won 5 of the last 6 games in this meeting. Virginia, on the other hand, were less than mediocre last year, going 5-7 this year. They have 15 starters, back 7 or 8 on defense, and they chose signal call Chandler Morris, formerly of TCU, Oklahoma, and last year from North Texas, to come over in the portal and be the starting quarterback. Last year at North Texas, Chandler Morris was on fire, passing 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. North Texas is a place where they throw the ball a lot and bank on outscoring you. They probably don't give a damn about defense, but I think with Chandler Morris, with some powerful Power 4 players around him, he'll probably be a pretty good quarterback. The interior defensive line is stronger, and they have a really good linebacker core. No doubt Virginia will come to play. I actually think Virginia can win this game. Virginia 27, North Carolina State 20. Next up, we have the number 2 team in the country, Penn State Nittany Lions -42 against FAU with a total of 53. Yeah, Penn State, arguably the best team in the country. They're coming off a very good 13-3 season, a college football playoff berth, in a year where they went to Ohio State, lost by a touchdown after being inside the 10-yard line on 2 different occasions. I don't think that'll be the case this year. Penn State has 15 returning starters, 9 on offense, 6 on defense, lead by the preseason All-American Drew Aller. Drew was smoking last year with 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. They averaged 33 points a game. They also returned 2 stellar running backs in Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, along with 4 offensive line. The defense should be one of the nation's best, even though they lost Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year Abdul Carter to the draft. Of course, Penn State playing FIU is just a scrimmage. FIU has been a bum for several years now. This year, they have a new coach in Willie Simmons. Simmons was running back coach at Duke last year. He inherits a team that brings back only 6 starters, 3 on offense, 3 on defense, not winning over 5 games a season in the past 5 years. FIU did get a little get back last week against Bethune-Cookman, but Don't Cookman is the program in Terminal. Their quarterback left after the spring, and they really didn't know who the starter was until last week. Last week might be one of the only times that FIU will cover a spread. FAU only has 3 back on offense, but the offense will be led by a pretty dynamic quarterback in Keon Lights Out Jenkins, who had previously committed to Auburn. Last week, FIU rushed for 222 yards, and Jenkins had 187 yards passing. I don't know that I'll be a recipe to win the game against another 2 team in the country, but I just feel that 42 points is way too much. Penn State 41, FIU 17. Next, we have a FBS and the FCS matchup once again with Minnesota -42.5 against Northwestern State with a total of 50.5. Minnesota had what they would call a decent year last year, going 7-6. PJ Fleck did get them in a bowl game. He returned 16. 13 starters, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. One of the few teams who didn't get a quarterback in the portal, they stayed in-house with Drake Lindsey, a 6'5", 230-pound quarterback. Also, they have a top-notch offensive line and top-notch running backs, starting with Darius Taylor, who last year in just 4 starts had almost 700 yards, but was injured after 4 games. The defense was really good, only giving up 17 points a game. This year, DC Danny Collins will be running what he calls the Havoc defense. How.attack.violence.1.compete. I don't think that Minnesota will have a problem with Northwestern State. Last week, Minnesota defeated Buffalo 23-10. Northwestern State was one of the worst teams in the country. That record was 0-12. There's not much to say about Northwest State. They haven't played a game yet this year, but I can assure you that this would be a slaughter of the meek and mild. At Devney, love this game to go over the total. Minnesota 48 North, Northwestern State 10. Yes, we finally get to Texas. I know a lot of you Arch Manning fans and Texas fans aren't happy with what happened last week. I actually thought Texas could have won the game. Sarkisian called a really bad game. You guys continue calling him one of the best play callers in college football. I think not. It's not what you used to do. It's what are you doing now. Sark did the same thing against Ohio State last year. There's not much I can say about Texas that you don't already know. They have preseason Heisman Trophy favorite Arch Manning at quarterback, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, and Calic Lockett at wide receiver, and Quintrevion Wisner at running back. They'll get back on track, and they'll definitely win a lot of games, and more than likely they'll be going to the college football playoffs. Last week was a tough loss with Texas going to Ohio State and losing 14-7. What can I say? The defense stood up. They'll be going up against the San Jose State squad headed up by former Navy coach. I still don't know why they fired him, Ken Niumatalolo. Last week, San Jose State played against Central Michigan, who had to come all the way across the country, and I assume that's why the odd makers made it a 14-point in favor of San Jose State. I actually took San Jose State to be disappointed with Central Michigan winning that game outright, 16-14. San Jose State returned 12-star, 6-on-6 on defense after 7-6 win-loss record last year. Their floor general is Walker Agate. This is the coach's second year, and the run game should fare much better. From what I am seeing, good teams who either lost last week or didn't play a good game are taking it out this week in these matchups. I think Texas, I do just that, even with his 37-point spread. I definitely love this game to go over the total. Texas 56, San Jose State 14. Next, we have 2 teams that are relatively new to the FBS. I think both came over in the last 2 to 3 years. Liberty -6.5 against Jacksonville State with a total of 50.5. Liberty was the darling of college football 2 years ago when they went 13-1, but got slaughtered in a bowl game by Oregon 45-6. Last year they were 8-4, and this would be Jamie Chadwell's 3rd year, the year in which most teams turn the corner with a new coach. Although his team turned the corner in the first year, and the second year wasn't a bad one either. They returned 15 starters, 7 on offense, 8 on defense. They have a pretty good quarterback in Ethan Vasco, formerly of Coastal Carolina. They do lose their all-world quarterback, Caden Salter, to Deion Sanders in Colorado. Liberty also loses its top running back, the top wide receiver, and 3 starting offensive linemen. During this transfer portal era, it's really not hard to buy. You skill position players. Last week against Maine, Vasco had 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. This week, they'll be facing a little stiffer competition in Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State at Ridge Road this year. They have first-year coach Charles Kelly, who inherited a team that went 9-5 last year, but I don't think that'll count much because he's only returning $6. I guess you can see last week Jacksonville State had a balanced attack with 165 yards rushing and 157 yards pass, but the defense gave up 314 yards passing and 108 yards rushing. Is bad, as I want to take Jacksonville State. I don't think they could hold up under this type of pressure, not with 15 returning his starters at Liberty. I think this 6-point game might be just what the doctor ordered. Liberty 31, Jacksonville State 17. Last but not least, in these early slate games, we have a matchup of the SEC in the Mountain West. Texas A&M -32.5 against Utah State with a total of 56.5. Texas A&M and coach Mike Elko had a pretty good outing in his first year, finishing with an 8-5 record last year. They returned 15 starters, 8 on offense, 7 no defense, with a really good sophomore quarterback in Marcel Reed. Last year as a freshman, Reed ran for 543 yards, passed for 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. They started out the first game against UTSA smoking hot. They actually had the spread of 24 covered, and UTSA scored a garbage touchdown with 3 seconds remaining to cover the money. They actually held UTSA quarterback Owen McCown to 121 yards passing, so the defense with 7 starters back should be pretty good this year. Last year, they held opponents to 22.4 points a game. Utah State will be coming off a 4-8 record last year, and they have a new coach in a veteran journeyman, Coach Bronco Mendenhall. Oh yeah, this dude has a real football name. Mendenhall has coached at BYU, where he had success, and 1 year at Virginia, where he bailed after 2-10 season. He inherits a Mountain West team with only 8 starters back, 2 on offense and 6 on defense. A defense that bleed 37.8 points a game last year. In his first game, he didn't fare so bad, defeating UTEP 28-16, covering the spread of 5.5. With that being said, 32.5 is a large number, and I think Utah State can stay within that. Texas A&M 37, Utah State 17. Right now, that's all we have for the early slate. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, dislike. We just want to hear from you.